other people. And he's asking Prabhupada, uh, what is our position? And he wants to know how we can help the people at large. But Prabhupada cuts him off before he can even finish his question, and he says, what qualification do you have? So the question arises in our minds, are we able to assist or not? Because Prabhupada is asking, what qualification do you have? Why do you think you can assist anybody? Sounds controversial, doesn't it? But he gives the answer. He said that we should not think that we are so powerful that we can do anything. We are powerless unless Krishna empowers us. And all we can do is repeat what Krishna said. So that is the first lesson of the many lessons that we're going to come across. It's just a reminder that we are the servant of the servant of the servant of the servant of the Lord. That is our position. We are not controllers. So we can't go out there and say we're going to do something, we're going to change something, or we're going to uplift somebody. We are poor ourselves. Prabhupada says, you are poor. If you are poor, what can you give somebody else who is poor? You have to be rich to give somebody something, right? So, what is that richness? That richness is our Krishna consciousness, our understanding and our knowledge. Prabhupada thanked him and they conversed briefly in Hindi, obviously still thinking about the comment made the other day at Subha Vilas's house. He said, Gopi Bhartur Pada Kamaloyor Dasa Dasannanu Adasa. I am the servant, 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 servant of Krishna. All these rascals are learning how to become Krishna. Just see, it is impossible. They laughed. But they will try for it. It is impossible to become Krishna. But people sometimes try to do that. Prabhupada emphasizes now that we can do nothing. You cannot help. Prabhupada's words. You cannot help. First of all, you cannot help. And then Mr. Sharma had to agree. He said yes. He understood and he conceded. If you want to help, then simply repeat the instruction of Krishna. Otherwise, you have no power to help. It is all concoction. And then he quotes the example of Vivekananda. For the last 100 years, he could not do anything. First of all, you must know you must know that you have no capacity to help. Right? That is true, Prabhu. So, that was the first part of the conversation. Then we come to the question of the characteristics of a Vaishnava. He has to be good and honest. You have some idea of good and honest, Prabhupada said. So what is the definition of good and honest? If you just see somebody, the way they dress, they have their tilak and all of that, you cannot say whether they are honest and truthful. But if he is chanting, Prabhupada says, then that is all good. Then he has to be good. Then you can say for certain that is truth, that he is truthful and he is good. The key is chanting. But because he is chanting, he is all good. That's Prabhupada's statements. The devotees responded enthusiastically to Srila Prabhupada's support. Jai! They all clapped and they applauded Prabhupada. So we come to another question now about understanding. Why do they not understand the difference between being the servant and the controller. And Prabhupada says, coupled with close association with devotees is very, very important. We've heard this so many times, that when you associate with devotees who are good and honest and true, and that is defined by their chanting, then you're on the right path. Prabhupada, because he is chanting, sometimes, another question that is being asked, right? Prabhupada, because he is chanting, sometimes a person gets a very false ego that he has become very big devotee. He is serving the Lord and he tries to, Prabhupada stopped for a moment. That is right. He is in the line of goodness. But those who are not chanting, they are all bad. Only those who are not chanting, they are bad. But even though somebody might have a little bit of pride, or his ego may be a little bit inflated, but still, because he is chanting, that's right, he is in the line of goodness. But those who are not chanting, they are all bad. Do you understand it or not? See, Prabhupada is very firm about that. Do you understand it or not? Those who are not chanting, they are very bad. Only those who are chanting, they are good. So we have to take the association of those who are chanting. And that means if they are chanting, they are in the mode of goodness. And even though they might have some little defect, because they are chanting, because they have faith and trust in the Lord, because they are associating with devotees, those defects will disappear in a short while. So we don't have to worry about that. We don't have to look at defects. We simply concentrate on our chanting, and we concentrate on the good qualities that all Vaishnavas, all of us, you must find some good qualities in everybody. Everybody has good qualities and they may have some bad qualities. But if the bad qualities are there, what business it is of ours to point them out? It's got nothing to do with us. It is between that person and Krishna. And they will come to the realization with time, with association, with chanting, with knowledge, that they have to improve. It is not our duty to find fault. And this is the characteristic of Kali Yuga, we've heard, isn't it? Fault finding, criticism, and quarrel. These defects will be out very soon. Kisparam bhavati dharmatma. Don't bother. But because he is devotee, he is sadhu. So you mean to say, Prabhu, truthfulness and honesty will come after? Chanting, chanting, chanting? Mr. Sharma asked. Prabhupada agreed. But those who are not devotees, there is no truthfulness at all. Right? So our point here, we've come across so many points. We've pridelessness, then the defects, and now truthfulness. So Mr. Sharma said, devotee becomes automatically. Right? He has begun truthfulness, but one who is not devotee, he has no question of truthfulness. He is simply concocting in the mind. Mano ratena. And because he is on the mental platform, he will do all bad things. Therefore, devotee must try to be honest and truthful. Mr. Sharma said, devotee becomes automatically, Prabhupada told him. If he sticks to the devotional principles, he will become good very soon. Just like he has stopped. And he stopped, right? He said, if you just follow the principles. What are the principles? We know them so well, but it's repeated here. Devotee means no illicit sex, no drinking or intoxication, no meat eating. So he has adopted this and chanting. So anyone who is following the principles and chanting, Prabhupada says that is perfect. And now a very something that pertains to us comes up here. One of the Indians asked him, now the question of a god brother. How a god brother should treat the god brother with great respect to produce more love of Godhead and also between them. So this is like an Indian speaking, so you can see the English is not quite proper, but we can get the gist of what he's asking. He's asking about differences between god brothers. If you find some difference, he's talking to Prabhupada and he says, how will you treat a god brother that is antagonistic towards you? Right? This is the answer that Prabhupada gives. You show example, Prabhupada told him, coming to a halt. He explained the right mood that should exist to overcome any difficulty. If other god brother is not treating you well, you treat him well. Then it will be right. Why should you deviate? That this god brother is not treating me well, so I shall do also? Yes, we don't have to behave like the other person. We have the principles, we have our own understanding, we have the knowledge to know that we have to behave in a proper way. So if somebody is behaving improperly towards us, do we have to emulate that person? No, Prabhupada says. We have to continue with our right behavior, and in that way we can also provide an example to the other person who will think, but I'm being disrespectful to this devotee, and still he is not taking offense and he's still treating me kindly. So sometimes we have differences amongst ourselves as well. So this is a good lesson for us, that we should not go to prison for somebody else's crime. If they do something wrong, then they can go and they can go to jail for that. Why should we do that? We will continue with our good behavior and we will stay out of jail. You treat well. You show the example how to treat God brother. That is Mahaprabhu's teaching. Trinad api sunechuna taror api suhasnina amani nana manna dena Caitanya sadahari. So, who is treating me good or bad? I don't want to bother about it. Let me become humbler than grass, tolerant than a tree, and chant Hare Krishna. Once again, the devotees cheered Prabhupada's positive approach. Jai Prabhupada, Hari Bol. Now the Indian had another doubt. So he says, Prabhupada, a devotee, very often after chanting, why they develop very, very high? I see a lot of devotees, they fall down back to the Maya. What is the reason? So that applies to us too. We may be chanting and then we may become, the favorite word that everybody uses is get puffed up a little bit. We get puffed up and then after you reach your pinnacle, then for some reason or the other, you fall down again. And this Indian wants to know, what is the reason? Srila Prabhupada was very clear about it. He is not a devotee. He is pretending to be a devotee. So, if, what Prabhupada is saying, that if somebody falls down, then he wasn't a devotee in the first place. He is a pretender. One who is devotee never falls down. There are so many false devotees. Those false devotees are the ones who fall down, not the real devotees. Now we come to the question of married life. This is Subha Vilasa Prabhu, and his question is about married life. Most of the devotees are not married, and a lot of emphasis is put on renunciation and brahmachari life. So many of the devotees are brahmacharis. Some of them are in the brahmachari ashram, some of them are in the grihastha ashram. The question here is, but Subha Vilas has wife and children, right? As well as most devotees serve the temple full time and are supported by it. So many of the devotees that live in the temple are supported by the temple, but the prerequisite for that is that you have to be doing some service. Not that if you have a family, you come and stay at the temple and expect the temple to support you and your family. No. And then Prabhupada says, then such a person must stay outside. But that does not mean he must not come to the temple. Still, that Krishna consciousness has to be there, but he must work and he must support himself, support his wife and children. Because he took the vow before Agni, he said that he's going to do that. So suddenly you can't change, and suddenly you can't abandon. You just can't walk away suddenly, right? That's what he's saying. Prabhupada told him that the temple is meant for rendering service to the Lord. Krishna, therefore, anyone performing such service can live within it, but not for sense gratification. If you're performing service, then you can live at the temple, but not if you want to gratify your senses. Then you have to. Those grihastras who still have desire for sense gratification, they may live outside. Yes, when you have accepted family life, you must be responsible to carry out, Prabhupada said. Not that I became family man, all of a sudden I give up everything. Right? At one point you decided that you want to become a family man. You had a wedding and all of that, and you a family man. And then you decide, okay, I've had enough of family man after 1 or 2 years, and I want to go and live at the temple. So that is, Prabhupada said, that is not responsible. That is like, it's like offensive, because you took a vow. Remember, the fire was there, you walked around the fire, took 7 steps and all of that. I don't know how many of you are married, but I think it was like that. It used to be like that. Still is, I suppose. So you have to honor those vows. You can't all of a sudden say, okay, I'm tired of this family life, I want to go and stay at the temple. What about your responsibilities? And if you have children, then it is your responsibility to make those children Krishna conscious. We've heard that also, isn't it? Prabhupada has said that if you have 100 children, but the only thing is you make sure that they are Krishna conscious. That is the main thing. Now, not that I become family man, all of a sudden I give up everything. No, that is not wanted. But if one is actually advanced, he can give up everything. He has no more duty. So there is a little twist to this. What is the prerequisite? You have to be advanced. And if you're advanced, then obviously you'll take care. How they say that when the father wants to leave the house, when after the Grihastha said Vanaprast, then he has to hand over to the eldest son. But he makes sure everything is in order and they can carry on without him, then he can go to the temple. And he must also make sure that if he has daughters, he must make sure that they are taken care of as well. He must make arrangements for her to get married and find a suitable suitor. But the question comes up that you have given up vow against fire at the time of marriage, that the husband will look after wife and family. Then how does it fit in when you leave the family all of a sudden? Is there not a responsibility to take care of your family? No, not all of a sudden, Prabhupada corrected him. Generally, you have to discharge the duties of family life. And at a ripe age, when everything is settled up, then you can give up family. So when will everything be settled up? The cutoff number of years is after 50 years. So you can clear up all that responsibility, Prabhupada told him, therefore, up to 50th year. After that, whatever is done, that's all. But our philosophy is there, is no question of giving up this or taking up that. Simply take to Krishna consciousness. Wherever you remain, it does not matter, either in family life or at the temple. So the main point is that you take up Krishna consciousness, you follow the rules and regulations, do your chanting. That is what is required. It does not matter whether you're staying in the temple or not. That is most important. And Subha Vilas wanted to know what comes after that. In the Vanaprastha ashrama, after 50 years of age, what is the duty? Is it to live in the temple or become devotee most of the time to Krishna, or where does the wife come in then? So this, I'm reading it as it is, so you can see this is an Indian style of talking, right? But he's simply asking that whether you live in the temple, whether it is advisable to live in the temple or become a devotee of Krishna, and he wants to know where does the wife fit into all of this. Temple you should live always. This is Prabhupada, right? Temple you should live always. Even in family life, you must come to the temple. Temple worship is for everyone, Prabhupada said. There was a final question from one of the Indians, again a doubt related to a man's contact with the devotees. A lot of devotees, they never read the books, but they are doing chanting. It will progress them without reading the books, because they're most important. So he's saying that, Prabhupada, you have written so many books, but not all the devotees are reading the books. They are simply chanting. So Prabhupada cuts in. Before he can finish, he says, but suppose one is illiterate. Illiterate means if you can't read, right? Then what? How he'll read if one is illiterate? That means he has no chance? No, chanting is sufficient. So, the starting point is chanting. For those who are serious about the chanting, it will become automatic that you want to know more about Prabhupada, you want to read his Transcendental Diaries, you want to read Bhagavad Gita and find out more about Krishna's instructions, you want to find out more about the purpose of this life, what is your relationship with the Lord, and how is it that you're going to attain eternal joy and bliss and happiness in the spiritual world. That will come automatically. But chanting is the main thing. Prabhupada says, chanting is sufficient. It does not mean that if one cannot read, then he has no chance. So Prabhupada returned to the deities. We there now, after the walk, Prabhupada returned to the deities and received Guru Puja. During the enthusiastic kirtan, he grasped the fresh flowers lying at his feet and threw colorful showers into the air onto the heads of the dancing devotees. Then, after singing Jaya Radha Madhava, he joined in the response to Pradyumna's line-by-line recitation of Sanskrit for Srimad Bhagavatam class. Pradyumna then loudly read out the translation for verse 5. So now we're back in the temple room and Prabhupada is receiving Guru Puja. Therefore, while in material existence, Pavan Atrista, a person fully competent to distinguish wrong from right, must endeavor to achieve the highest goal of life, as long as the body is stout and strong and is not embarrassed by dwindling. So this applies to all of you. Sri Sri Radharanath ki jai, Sri Caitanya Mahaprabhu ki jai, Giri Govardhan ki jai, Srila Prabhupada ki jai. A person fully competent to distinguish wrong from right must endeavor to achieve the highest goal of life as long as the body is stout and strong and is not embarrassed by dwindling. That means all of you. So it's not that when you get old, then you can think about God consciousness and becoming a devotee and then preparing for death. Death can come at any time. We've heard this so many times from the Maharajas. You don't have to be old. You can be young. You can be even a child. But we have to be prepared for it. Prabhupada unfolded upon us the deep realization he has gained from a lifetime's devotional practice and 10 years of constant global travel. So Prabhupada is explaining to us now. He's going to explain to us his experiences, his understanding and his findings from traveling for 10 years, traversing the globe. So this Krishna consciousness is not for a lazy person. So he's talking about you strong, you young, you youthful. That means you have to use that in Krishna consciousness. Not that you must think you are in Krishna consciousness and lazy. So long we are stout and strong, we can work very nicely. The health is quite all right. Take advantage of it. It is not Krishna consciousness movement is for lazy fellow. No. It is meant for the strong man. Strong in body, strong in mind, strong in determination, everything strong. Strong in brain. It is meant for them because we have to execute the highest goal of life. What is the highest goal of life? Yes. You said softly, say loudly, Prabhu, that they can all hear. Yes, Krishna Prem, he said. Isn't that what we are after? We are in the state of suffering. In this material world, there is only suffering and death. And you are sitting here because you have realized that we can transcend that to Krishna consciousness. So that is our goal of life. That is what the goal of life is really. To come out of this material suffering condition and transcend to the spiritual world where there is eternal joy and bliss. Prabhupada warned against taking shelter of this material world, where one meets only with death. If one is interested for his upliftment, kusala means auspicity. Everyone wants auspicity or ultimate goal of life. So long the body is strong, Prahlad Maharaj has begun, Komara akretet prajana. Education is given to the children, not to old man, because that is the rising of the body. He is receptive, he can take. Prahlad Maharaj's recommendation is that so long as we are strong, we are working, and in working order, we are not feeble or all energy lost. No. When you have got full energy, full strength, young men, children, they should take this lesson of Krishna consciousness. It is recommended for them, not for the old man who has lost everything. But they have taken it that Hare Krishna mantra is for the old man who is going to die. So it's not only for me, this Hare Krishna Maha Mantra, it's for everybody. Not that just because I'm going to die soon and I'm old man now, then I should take to it. Everybody must take to it, he says here. But it is recommended no for the strong man, youthful children like that, because the business is very important. Pavam asrita, to get ourselves out of this bhav. He said that education means to know what is eternal. They do not know what is Sanatan. They think that if I dress up in a certain way and if I am born in a certain community, then I become Sanatan Dharma. No. Everyone can become Sanatan Dharma. But they do not know what is the meaning of Sanatan. Every living entity is Sanatan. And Krishna, God is Sanatan. And there is a place where we can meet together. That is Sanatan Dharma. So, I don't know if you are able to follow. I'm reading it as Prabhupada was speaking. But he's saying that Sanatan Dharma is what is not that we can become God, but we are like God. And therefore, we strive to be with God at some later point in time when we leave this body, and then we can be serving the Lord as His servant, and then we can be happy in that way. He says, and there is a place where we can meet together. So where can we meet together? In the spiritual world, when we're serving the Lord there, when we're the servant of the Lord, when we're the servant of the servant. That is Sanatan Dharma. Suppose I return to that Sanatan Dharma and there is God, Sanatan, and I am Sanatan. So what is our Sanatan activities? Does it mean that when I go to Sanatan Dharma, I become God? Can I become God? Do I become God when I go to the spiritual world? No, you do not become God, because God is one. He is the Supreme Lord, Master, and we are servant. He is because God is one, He is supreme, and here every one of us, we are claiming to become Krishna. But when you return to Sanatan Dharma, then we, unless we are qualified, so we have to qualify to go to the spiritual world. Right? He uses that word, qualified. Unless we are qualified, we cannot go there. Then we eternally engage in the service of the Lord. So what is the qualification to go back to the spiritual world? We hear this all the time. He says it like this, then we eternally engage in the service of the Lord. We know it as devotional service. And devotional service takes many forms. You all know what that is all about. That is Sanatan Dharma. So you practice it. The Sanatan Dharma means this Bhakti Yoga. Because we have forgotten, everyone is trying to become God. Now, practice here how to become servant of God. You cannot become God, but you can become the servant of the Lord. And if you are qualified, factually, that now you are, rest assured that you have become servant of God. That is Bhakti Marg. As Caitanya Mahaprabhu said, Gopi Batur Pada Kamalayor Dasa, Dasa Anudasa. When you are expert in becoming the servant of the servant of the servant of the servant of the Lord, 100 times down, servant, then you are perfect. But here, everyone is trying to become the Supreme Lord. So, we now come to the another point about success. What does it mean to be successful? And if you are God, then why you become dog? Does God become dog? No, that is not possible. So all these things should be discussed, should be understood. So long as we are strong, young, brain is in order, then our life will be successful. And Prabhupada is advising, so long as you are strong, try your best to understand the instruction of Krishna and be Krishna conscious and make your life successful. So that is the meaning of success. Right? He lists it here. As long as you are strong, try your best to understand the instruction of Krishna and be Krishna conscious. So when you understand the instruction, then you can be Krishna conscious, and then you can try your best to make your life successful. Thank you very much. The devotees shouted in happiness and crowded around the Vyasasang, chanting exuberantly. Everyone strained forward to receive the last cookie directly from his hand before he left for the next leg of the tour. Now, it is the last day. We started off by saying it's the last day. So, in Toronto, when they went to the airport, they found that there was a strike. So, Srila Prabhupada took an early bath and lunch. At 1 p.m., we set out by car for Buffalo, just across US border. After a little more than a 2-hour drive, we arrived at the airport in Buffalo, because there was a strike at the Toronto airport, so they drove to Buffalo to take a plane from there to Pittsburgh. The plane to Pittsburgh wasn't scheduled to leave for 2 hours, and Prabhupada held a darshana in the waiting lounge. Pusta Krishna Maharaj first read from Bhagavad Gita. So when we get delayed sometimes and we have time on our hands, then how can we pass that time? Prabhupada has shown us by his example. In the lounge now, in the airport lounge, the flight is delayed, so they are having Bhagavad Gita class. Or you can chant. But you carry, it is recommended that you have Bhagavad Gita with you all the time. I know some devotees carry Bhagavad Gita all the time, like whenever I see Raghunath Bhatta Prabhu, he always got Bhagavad Gita with him. Right? So we should do that too. So you can have class whenever the opportunity arises, whenever you have some spare time. That is our business. Practicing Krishna consciousness and giving out that knowledge. So when you have a chance to give that knowledge to somebody, then why not? That is the greatest charity. Pusta Krishna Maharaj first read from Bhagavad Gita. Then Prabhupada talked for a while. He said that people cannot understand Krishna because they are in the bodily concept of life. We've heard this term quite a lot, bodily concept, and Prabhupada is using the example, his own experience, because when you enter the airport, or when you're exiting the airport after you've landed, then you always have to go to immigration and you have to produce your passport and all of that, because you're entering a new country. So that's what he's referring to on the bodily concept of life. If you're coming from Canada and you want to enter the USA, then they want to see your passport. Why you're coming here and your background and all of that. So they're saying, in other words, that USA is meant for us, Canada is meant for you. If you're coming here, then there's problem. It's just like, and he uses the example of a dog. If a dog is coming from a different place, coming to another dog's area, this dog will not want him to come, he'll bark. This is my territory, what you coming here for? Right? Like that. So he's saying that we are like that as well. We are on the bodily concept, thinking that there are divisions, that there are borders. Pusta Maharaj we read that. We passed through Canada to USA. Why Canada? Why USA? That is bodily concept. It is meant for the Canadians, it is meant for USA, Americans, immigration, customs, the same mentality as a dog coming from another neighborhood. The other dogs, they all come together. Wow, wow, why you have come here? Why you have come? We behave like animals, only we have civilized dress. In civilized dress only, this is the position. What is the difference between dog's mentality? So when we see on the bodily concept and in that way where we have demarcations, that is yours, that is mine, I am Indian, you are white, or like that, my language is Hindi, your language is something else. When we have that kind of difference, then that is on the bodily concept, and that is not recommended. Because why it's not recommended? We do see differences. He is tall, he is short, he is whatever, he is different color, different language, all that is there. But why we don't use that as criteria for seeing differences? Isn't the spirit soul, we read about this in Bhagavad Gita, that the spirit soul is 1/10,000 the size of the tip of the hair. So all the souls are the same, there's no difference. You can't even see it, so how can there be a difference? And that is who we really are, the spirit soul, isn't it? We're not the body. That is the main thrust of Bhagavad Gita, that we are not this body. And he says, why you have come here? Dogs barking and this immigration. Dogs barking because that strange dog is coming to our territory, so they're making a big noise. They saw a strange dog. I don't know if you've noticed, but dogs do that. When they see a stray dog going past, they make a big noise. They start barking. So what is the difference between dog barking and immigration? Prabhupada is asking. What is the difference? Is there any difference? This is our policy, very difficult. How will we understand Krishna consciousness? Their mentality is not better than animals. It is probably worse, I suggested. Yes, worse, Prabhupada confirmed, because animal has got some limit, but a human being who has developed consciousness is unlimited. So if the dog behaves like that, it's understandable, because he is not as intelligent as a human being. He works by instinct. No, this is my territory, I've got my house here, I've got my master, and why is that dog coming here? But human beings are intelligent, they have the highest intelligence, they're supposed to transcend that. So when we behave like animals, then that means we are not using our intelligence. What is the point of being a human being if we're going to behave like animals? So since we have the human body, we should actually behave like human beings and not use our intelligence, and we don't have instinct like the animals. Instinct means they have to behave in a certain way, they are conditioned to behave in that way. But we can use intelligence, we have knowledge, we have the capacity to understand, so we can choose the difference which was mentioned earlier. We know the difference between right and wrong. Now he goes further, he's defining this unlimited, right? Like the animal is limited to, okay, you come into my area, I'll bark. But he says human beings are unlimited in their mentality for this bodily concept. Just like a thief is a thief. He's using the example of a thief. You get an ordinary thief and he'll steal, but not too much damage is done. But when an attorney at law is a thief, he is very big thief. Right? So he will steal on a large scale because he has the knowledge and he knows the law, but he will use that to his detriment, because he thinks that, okay, I can steal in a better way. And we notice that all the time, especially in amongst the politicians. You know, the way things are carrying on in Kali Yuga, you can see that there's exploitation, that there's lots of stealing and cheating and corruption. All of that means that we is referring to this. When you are attorney at law, this is thief. So many examples are there, like contracts for friends and defrauding the coffers of the treasury and things like that. All that is happening. So this is what he means. He is very big thief. As the last announcement came for boarding the plane, just at that last moment, the devotees from Buffalo Temple presented him with a photo of their Gauranitai deities. As we sat on the plane, Srila Prabhupada kept looking at them, appreciating their beauty and commenting on how nicely the devotees were looking after them. We flew to Pittsburgh at 5:05 p.m. So now we have completed the day in Toronto with Srila Prabhupada. We walked with him. We went on his walk. Where was that place we went? Don Mill, the valley of Don Mill. And these questions were asked, and Prabhupada gave us all the answers. Not that he told us anything new, we know all of this as devotees, but we went through this today on this journey with Prabhupada, just to remind us that we are very forgetful as human beings, so we need reminders all the time so that we can understand that we have the capacity to choose between what is right and wrong, and therefore we should enforce that privilege that we have, for the simple reason that we want to find real happiness, which cannot be found in the material world. And Prabhupada said, if you are attached to the material world, the only result is death. But if you want eternal life, joy and bliss, then we have to transcend to the spiritual world. And how we do that? Bhakti yoga, chanting, dancing, like Veerabhadra Prabhu. You see how enthusiastically he dances. He has the right idea. That is what we're supposed to do. We're supposed to be overwhelmed by the holy name. Nothing else must come into your thoughts. Just the holy name, and that is the qualification that we need to go back to the spiritual world, where whatever we eat, whatever we say, whatever we do, wherever we go, whatever we give away, all that is done simply with Krishna in mind and His pleasure. Not for our pleasure, in the service of the Lord and for the Lord's pleasure. That is the qualification. Any comments, any questions? If Prabhu is here, he can answer any questions that you may have. Yes, Mataji. Hare Krishna. But I can't hear you, Mataji. Can you would rather take this?
Hare Krishna. I said, even as devotees, we are so entrenched in the bodily platform of life, and we need to make a conscious effort to get out of it. And as you were reading, just by devotional service, one can, and chanting the holy names, it can actually assist us in getting out of the bodily platform of life. So I just wanted to mention that. Hare Krishna.
Krishna consciousness. So it means we have to be conscious of Krishna all the time. And how do we remind ourselves to be Krishna conscious all the time? We have our beads. That's what it is all about. And if you, Prabhupada said earlier on that even the person who's illiterate, he can't read, but he can chant. That does not preclude him from attaining the spiritual world and from advancement. Chanting is sufficient, right? He may not be able to read, but he definitely can hear, and he will hear from the devotees. He'll want to hear from the devotees. So that is the way out. We should not make excuses and think that, okay, I am at a disadvantage. As long as you can chant, everything will fall into place. Prabhu, you have to say something.
Earlier you mentioned that Prabhupada said that those who fall were not devotees. So sometimes we see that devotees, or even it's mentioned in scripture that a devotee may have a temporary fall down. So how do we explain that?
So there are different degrees of, I'm just speculating here, right? I'm just trying to answer your question. There are different degrees of speculation, as there are different degrees of devotion, right? Depending on the degree of, a pretense, not speculation, pretense. Different degrees of pretense. So I might pretend a little bit, somebody might pretend a little more, and somebody might be pretending all the time. So if you are one of those full-time pretenders, then there is going to be fall down. But if you're pretending just a little bit, here and there, now and again, then you might fall down, but you'll come up again. Because you are not taught, like illness. If you neglect yourself, then you can become very sick. You can go from flu to bronchitis to pneumonia. But if you just got the flu and you attend to it immediately, go to the doctor, get your medication, get your antibiotics and all of that, then you skip the bronchitis and the pneumonia stage and all of that. You don't have to go to ICU. So I think like that. So we should be, therefore association is so important, because then even though you might be pretending, but when you are in the association of the devotees, you're hearing about Krishna, they are practicing Krishna consciousness, they are reading about Krishna, they are acting for Krishna. How can you act differently? So you are encouraged and motivated to act in Krishna consciousness all the time. And if that is the case, then the pretense becomes reality. Prabhu?
I was just thinking the all nice points you're making about temporary fall down. You raised the point, it's temporary. See, the thing is, when you're talking about a devotee, it depends on the level of the devotee, because what we're practicing is mixed bhakti. Most of us, our bhakti is mixed with karma, jnana, some desires. So then sometimes, we fall down because we attach to certain desires we have and we want to achieve that, and it's material desires. So the person may fall down while he's practicing Krishna consciousness, then he may fall down from the process. But a pure devotee won't fall down. So when you're talking about a devotee, we're talking about mixed devotees. For us, like we are mixed probably. I don't know, maybe some are pure on that high level. So then that's what Prabhupada is referring to, somebody who is fixed in devotional service. And then he doesn't fall down. Like lots of people who like came and practiced Krishna consciousness, and they leave. But after some time they come back and they start practicing again. And we found that, even in one of Prabhupada's disciples, he had so much of challenges. He got married twice, he got married for the second time. Still, he was able to come out, and towards the end of his life, devotees were chanting, and many experiences the devotee was having. He was recalling his the first picture he saw that he was attracted to, Govardhan, the Govardhan pastime. And in the end, they put a, Harisuri was there also, they put a Govardhan Shila on his chest. And there was a communication between Govardhan and him. Now he was like, you could say, a fallen devotee. But how can, Krishna speak to somebody who is fallen? So which means that, as you were saying, as they get the good association, so he can come back and follow from where he left off, even within this life. Because it can happen in the next life, because we say, in this endeavor there are no lots of diminution. And then that means also in this life he can start off from that point, where he left off. So like that he was like meditating, and the communication is going on, and then he left his body. So he, and then later when they were bathing the body, they couldn't find the Shila, the Govardhan Shila. And then after a few days, a lady came and said, I don't know whose Govardhan Shila is this. It came to my house. Because the communication was between him, take your piece and go. Take your Shila and go. That was the communication between him and Krishna. So sometimes, people may fall down from the process, but it's temporary. It's maybe temporary in that sense. But a pure devotee will remain on that fixed platform. So in that case, he doesn't fall down. Like even once Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur initiated a person, and the next day he left. Then they were saying, but you just initiated him, and he left. He reckoned, no, he was never my disciple. So he was not my disciple. Although he initiated him, because he probably was not practicing to that extent. Okay, thank you very much.
Thank you, Prabhu. So, Prabhupada, I'm just recalling what we read through. Prabhupada talks about a good disciple, who is good and who is bad. So it's all about chanting. He said the one who is chanting, he is all good. That is the bottom line, the chanting. So even if we are pretending to chant, the chanting will purify our chanting, and eventually it will become good chanting. And then when we're chanting properly, then we're no more pretending. That's a simple conclusion that I can come to. Because Prabhupada says, the one who is chanting, he is good. Anybody else? Thank you very much. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Itai Gaur Premanande. Hari Hari.